Who am I? This is our big question for our series. Have you ever asked yourself this question? While on the surface it's simple, this question is going to help us and reveal to us our identity. How we answer this question is how we define who we are. Last week we talked a lot about how many things we might think answer the question, who am I, don't actually go deep enough. If we define ourselves based on who or what we like, our hobbies or our passions, we miss out on the identity God has given to us. Our identity isn't rooted in what we do or what we desire. It's rooted in how God created us. We're going to be exploring that more today. Let's take a look at one of the most fascinating and awe-inspiring verses in the Bible. Let's read Genesis 1:26 through 27. Then God said, "Let us make human beings in our image to be like us. They will reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the livestock, all the wild animals on the earth, and the small animals that scurry along the ground." So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Within the first few pages of the Bible, as the world is being created and ordered, we get our first look at what it means to be human. To be human, according to this verse, is to be made in the image of God. Okay, but what does that mean? It doesn't mean we physically look like God. And it doesn't just mean we have the capacity to feel or think complexly. It's actually something so much grander than that. Let's take a look at that word for image in the Bible. The book of Genesis was written in Hebrew. All we need to know about Hebrew is that the word for image is the word tselem. Tselem is the exact same word that is used to describe idols or images of false gods elsewhere in the Old Testament. Seems weird, right? If you're familiar with some stories in the Bible, you might know that God typically doesn't like idols. Like here in the Ten Commandments, God tells his people to not make idols at all. Exodus 20:4-5 says, "You must not make for yourself an idol of any kind, or an image of anything in the heavens, or on the earth, or in the sea. You must not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, who will not tolerate your affection for any other gods." Of course, if we kept reading in the story, we'd find out the Israelites did exactly that. They created an image of a cow to represent God, going against his commandment. So, what does this all have to do with our identity? What does it mean to be made in the image of God? And how does that help us answer the question, who am I? Let's consider what it means to be an image of something. To be an image is to be a representative or a reflection of something else. That's what idols are, aren't they? They are meant to act as a representative for something else. As if to say, doesn't that remind you of something or someone? The problem God has with his people creating idols of him or other false gods is that by creating an idol, they reject the identity God gave them. God created us to be his image. A proper representation of God isn't a stone or wood or gold statue like the other religions of that time. God says right from the get-go that living, breathing humans are his images. Humans are supposed to reflect and represent God in the world. At the core of our identity, who we were made to be was to reflect and represent God. To be human is to demonstrate the character of God through how we live and act in the world. To be human is to be like God. And the best part about it is that the image of God isn't something we have to hold on to for dear life or something that can be lost. It's something we are. We are the image of God. You are the image of God. God created me and you to be his representative in creation. Because of who we are and the image we were created in, we have so much value. The image of God means that everyone has dignity, worth, and value that is insurmountable by anything we could do or think or not do. This is the basis for why any kind of hierarchy or supremacy of one human over another is absolutely baseless. Because we are made in the image of God, every person, regardless of any differences, is priceless. Let's take a look at Psalm 8 together to unpack this more. Psalm 8, 3-9 says, "When I look at the night sky and see the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars you set in place, what are mere mortals that you should think about them? Human beings that you should care for them? Yet you made them only a little lower than God and crowned them with glory and honor. You gave them charge of everything you made, putting all things under their authority. The flocks and the herds and all the wild animals, the birds in the sky, the fish in the sea, and everything that swims the ocean currents. O Lord, our Lord, your majestic name fills the earth." See, God didn't just create us to be like everything else in creation. As God is the ruler of the entire cosmos, God chose us, his representatives, his image bearers, to be rulers over the creation that he made. That's why being made in the image of God is so significant. At the time that Genesis was written, to be made in the image of God was a marker of royalty. Scholars and historians have found in that time the image of God was a title reserved for kings and queens. In a subversive and powerful display of his love and affection for each of us, God crowns each and every member of humanity as made in the image of God. Guy and girl, poor and rich, sick and healthy. God has granted each of us the value of royalty. If our identity is going to lie anywhere, it needs to lie in who we were made to be, not what we do or what we like or even who we like. God created each of us to bear his image in the world. He didn't want pieces of gold or statues of stone to be an idol of him. He chose you and me to be active in the world so we might be his advocate and representatives in the world.